For those who missed, for those who are not in the conference, just freely for a few minutes or a few seconds, whatever you like, what was it about? What did you learn? What was the audience? How do you feel?
Yeah, so I did a talk on critical thinking for developers. So often I've run across people who you have a conversation with, and when you leave the conversation, you just wonder, oh, this person just doesn't think well. And yeah, a little bit. But often it's online, you get a lot of responses to very innocuous things that you say. And then I look at them and think, well, if they're software developers, how are they building software when they don't quite think in a structured manner? And the example that I start to talk with is, if you go online, you can go on Twitter, post a picture of a lovely little kitten. You say, oh, look I love kittens. Someone will ask you why you hate puppies.
Yeah, actually, that's truth. Sad truth.
This has happened to everybody. Like, maybe not with kittens and puppies specifically, but with something. And when you look at responses like that, there's always this pattern, and the pattern is that they're making assumptions and they're maybe projecting things onto you. And the one thing they're not doing is thinking about the response.
Well, they're also lacking love.
Right, they're lacking empathy, they're lacking love, so they're just not thinking about stuff. And that's a very simple example. You try to talk about any serious topic, politics or religion or any of that, so I don't even bring that up in the talk because I could use kittens as an example instead. But you'll get, it doesn't matter what side of an issue they're on, but you'll get these kind of responses that don't make sense, or they're off topic, or they really just are very twisted of what you said. And I thought, well, people have to build products. It's more than just coding. When you go to create requirements for your product, if people say things and you can't listen to them, you can't have that empathy for them, how are you supposed to build the proper product? Because what they're doing is not thinking. They're not applying critical thought.
I'm completely interested to hear the answer. How?
So there's many things you need to do. And I start out with examples like that, and then I move on to things, we'll start out with the requirements, and I move on to things like logical fallacies and bias. And that creeps up into software. And anybody who's been on the internet will know that artificial intelligence is a hot topic right now of bias, right? There's been algorithms that are the Apple credit card. A big thing went on news, like at least U.S. national news, and I saw it over in Germany. So DHH, the creator of Ruby on Rails, started tweeting about how he got an Apple card and 10 times the credit that his wife got. And even though they called and they just blamed the algorithm and said, well, the algorithm did it. And here they found out that there's a bit of a sexist algorithm to it. And,
oh my God.
And we know that facial detection doesn't recognize people of color's faces very well. And then law enforcement wants to use these things, right? So that's not good for society if you're going to use known biased products like that. But this stuff doesn't magically appear out of nowhere, right? You have to have the developers build the bias in, but it's unconscious and they don't know. They may know that they're doing it, but often they don't.
Choose to maybe.
They may choose, but often, often they don't. So what I talk about is trying to tamper your bias and keep that out of the product. You won't eliminate everything, right? Because everybody has bias, no matter who you are.
Well, that's just simply human.
Exactly. Being alive, that is how you get it. So, you have to try to tamper it and make sure that you're not letting it go all the way over into the prejudice side or letting it affect software in an adverse way. And also things like just thinking improperly, a logical fallacy, which is just an error. It's a bug in the human software where I see this a lot. You get folks and they say, well, so we need you to build this software. What do you suggest that we use? And automatically, if you're a Java dev, you're going to be like Java. If you're a .NET dev, you're going to be like .NET. And a lot of people don't stop and think, okay, this is the language I use, right? .NET or C# or Java, whatever. Is that actually what's the best for this project? And a lot of people will just stop there and say yes because I use it and want to, rather than saying, well, let's get some information about this project and see if
That's a
there's
hard
language.
way. It's so
Yeah.
uncommon to use the hard way.
Right, and that's the thing. A lot of this makes you very uncomfortable, right? Having to accept information, and right away it kind of grates and scratches in your head, and it causes some uncomfortable feelings. And then with that, I said, what you have to do is start practicing self-monitoring, where you recognize these feelings, and then once you do, you can say, stop for a second. I'm recognizing this as an uncomfortable feeling. So what I'm going to do is back up and start asking questions and digging to find an answer and actually doing the thinking. So if it's about what language to use, I might say, well, what kind of product is it? What industry? Who would the team members be? How's management like? How are these things going to all play out? So you have a lot of this, even with product features. Somebody says, a user says, I would like this feature. And often developers are like, oh, yes, I would like to code that. Or they're like, no, users are dumb. And a lot of this is this automatic thinking, right? Because you already had this idea in your head and it just comes out. And you need to stop, right? Just stop it. Think about it. And you could do it in these structured ways. When I'm thinking about something, I could say, well, let's take a look at, I might look at a feature to implement, write down everything I could think about it, and then say, am I making any fallacies here? Am I doing confirmation bias? Which means if I like it, I'm just going to find more reasons to like it. If I hate it, I'm going to find more reasons to hate it. Or am I making this other, one of the things I brought up was the IKEA effect. And it is, if you actually spent time building something, then you're going to be more reluctant to change it or even get rid of it. And sometimes you build something and it needs to go. You need to rewrite it. Or maybe not, but you might need to fix it. And a lot of people are very resistant to that, fixing bugs or other problems in software, because they spent that time and it's their baby and they just can't give it up.
Yes, I love that you're speaking about literally just simple, basic human things that we can relate.
Human things bleed out into software, right? So none of this was about like line by line coding, but all these things with product design and product building, that your humanness seeps into the software. That I build that looks exactly like me and excludes people of color or people who are not like me or people from other parts of the world. There's 7 billion of us and a significant amount that use the internet and software, and they do it in different ways. What about accessible people? People with disabilities or folks that need a screen narrator. I give a lot of talks on accessibility, and it's the same thing. People forget. If I'm not blind, I often don't consider, not me personally, because I actually do consider this every time, but a lot of people don't consider that somebody might be using a screen narrator to use their website. And then they have popular websites that are not even usable at all. People can't even visit there because they might have blindness or deafness or, some other issue like that. So it's that whole, knowing the whole wide range of human spectrums of ability and disability and the way people think, and the fact that their experiences will be different than yours, the more different somebody looks and behaves than you. So you want to incorporate all those people into software that you can get. So it's all about making the software so it's really available for everybody and reducing all of these little human errors that kind of seep into software.
This is way more than I expected from the topic, the title, way more. And definitely honestly, the most beautiful conversation I had in the studio through 2 days, because this is relatable, this is human, this is important as hell. And this is wow.
It's not just to software, it's
to anything.
Regular human thinking and catching yourself thinking correctly or not. And then trying to improve yourself continuously, but also applying it to software. But
how to be how to be a good human while working in tech.
Engineer as well, right? Because then you have that empathy for other people, and that's finally becoming a trend, right? Actually building empathy into our products so that the products work for other people as well. So
Yeah, that's actually a little bit of a trend, but I'm happy. It's just growing. Okay, we will give some attention to my colleague now, to Lucas, and he is walking right now in the tech zone in the expo, and we'll be back with some other people, with some keynotes and some other interviews. Thank you very much. We're going to talk off the camera because that is heart to heart.